Okay, I think my mic is going. I'm talking to Kevin Blanch, artist in Utah, on part 2, an artist in the age of fission, the guy of post-ignorance. And today I want to talk about the physical dimension of your art. The last interview I did with you, we basically talked about the culture of ignorance and in relation to Fukushima and nuclearism. But I wanna really focus with you, Kevin. You there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. What I want to focus with you on is the physical dimension of the art you're producing as a video artist specifically. And I think this is this is a fabulous thing for me, because I've actually never been that interested in video or photography until I came across your work. And I want to invoke Chuck Close, the guy that makes those big, huge, fat portraits. You know that guy? Yeah. You know what he said about photography was that it's easy to click a photograph, but it's the most difficult art to have a vision in. And I think it applies to video as well. What do you think of that?
I think, video, I think what I'm doing, and YouTube changed the field. I've always been fascinated with video art. I absolutely love it. You know, I'm a huge fan of Andy Warhol, giant fan, and his movies, you know, they are what they are. But I mean, I was always turned on by his movies in a way when I saw them. I mean, they're not visually aesthetic. They're just. I mean, it was kind of like the soup can with him. I don't even really care for his movies, but it was the idea of the movies and the type of the movies. I'm like, nobody's really into it. We have all this video content, all this movie, and none of it's really art. And then here comes along YouTube, and I'm like, oh boy. So, you know, and then of course Fukushima happened, but before that BP happened. And so I'm like, God, what an opportunity for me. You know, a lot of people don't understand that these videos of mine, not before I got cancer, I'm an artist, purely. I mean, I get interviewed all the time. What are you, Kevin? You know, I'm supposed to be economist. I'm not an economist. I'm a finance. I'm an environmentalist. I'm a human rights. But right down to the purest form, I'm an artist. And when I do these videos, people don't get it. I very specifically pick where I'm doing, how, every little thing in the background. I view them as a painting. They're like a virtual painting.
And I want to.
My voice, and it's such a powerful genre. It's so powerful.
And I want to get there. I want to get there exactly, but I want to go from the scratch here, from the get-go.
Okay.
There was a video movement. It started with Fred Forrest, Namjoon, Pike in the '60s, and you know that they used what is called a Sony Portapack the video device. Now, I understand you're using a Sony camera.
Yeah, I didn't know they used Sony on it. Yeah, it's a little teeny Sony Boogie. And
okay,
this little camera is amazing.
Okay, now this is interesting. Now, people need to understand this, because the Sony Portapack was the first video camera, and in fact, Fred Forrest was the first to use it. Namjoon Pike, a well-known video artist, also used it even before it was marketed. And I think
I didn't know that, and I love their work, by the way.
Yes, I think they were breakthrough artists, and I want to refer to them. But I'm going to actually eclipse my comments about you will eclipse what they did, because my thought about this. Well, people need to understand. You're using a Sony. You call it a bogey or boogie.
It's a boogie, a little Sony boogie, $150 camera. This thing's got a mind of its own, as you know.
Yeah, well, it clicks. It's very appropriate.
It clicks, sometimes it don't. Sometimes it clicks still. You know, I didn't use it in the early days. I had one of those. I had several flips, and you know, I had nightmares and disasters. And I finally got this thing. And like I said, this camera. Can I hang in a museum what day with this thing?
It also fixed itself, I understand. It was clicking badly once.
It did. It's amazing. It just started clicking one day, and then, you know, and I was like, wow, the whole clicking so turned me on. I mean, I think those were some of the greatest video they did. It was just the perfect clicking, you know, radiation in the atmosphere. Those are some of the most powerful videos I think that I did with the clicking, and then it just stopped.
Well, this is obviously, I don't know what you would call that. That's like a divine intervention, if you want, to have a clicking going on in your fucking camera. It's like.
Well, I think what happened is a little spout on the side where the microphone is. And I think a little particle of dust or dirt got in there. And
yeah, you dropped it in the water. You dropped it in the water. That's what you did.
No, not this one. This one's never been dropped in the water. No, that one's never been dropped.
Okay.
No, this camera, you don't. I mean, if it dropped, that'd be the end of this.
Now, I want to talk to you briefly about. You are aware of the early video artists, including Warhol. Warhol again escalated the whole video concept in his own way, but if you look at Namjoon Pike and even Bruce Nauman, people that use that format. Now, what I call it is they were actually transferring an aesthetic of the past into this medium, and I believe that what you're doing is what I call the aesthetic of confrontation, which in a way eclipses any kind of aesthetic. It's a new way of using this medium. It's very confrontational.
Well, I call it, and I tell people all the time, it was always said that literature only changes things around the edges, and I so absolutely disagree with that. I think literature is the essence and the soul and the core of, I keep going back to Harry Beecher Stowe, you're the little lady who started the war. But anyway, my videos, I really think there's I call them the modern day literature. It's literature, it's visual art, it's history, it's confrontational, it's journalistic, it's aesthetic, it's so aesthetic. And I know that it's a powerful, powerful genre the way I'm using it because, people, you would not believe how many people, thousands of people watch some of these videos and people think I'm speaking to them directly. They really do.
Yeah.
And it burns through people, so it's such a powerful mix of so much. I really can't wrap my mind. I try to wrap my mind around what would you really call it, and I've never, I keep going back to post-series, but I've really never come up with a name of exactly what it is I'm doing yet.
Well, this is, I'm not surprised because when you're making the work, you're not concerned with what it's called. You're just making it. You're being that which you're making. It's not something reflective in that sense. That's the real...
I was at the public library on 5th Avenue and 42nd Street. And some people out front, people recognize me in New York. The streets of Manhattan, the streets of Brooklyn. People walk up to me all over. Can I have my picture taken? Because I live, nobody that, knows or gives a damn who I am. But anyway, I'm standing there and this asshole comes up. And we're having a conversation with a group of really great artists and writers, with a group of writers. And this guy comes up to me and he says, well, I've watched your video and I see who you are, but this is all, this post-ignorance you tell me about, it's really just about you. And I looked at him and I said, no fucking shit. What does it say on my shirt? Post Kevin Blanch, post-ignorance. Yeah, this is me, Kevin B. Blanch. That's what this is. It's me.
Yeah.
It's me. And I am more, Kevin B. Blanch at post-ignorance, what I morphed to via cancer, even before I cancer. I am not me. Kevin D. Blanch post-ignorance, I am really everybody and everything as far as these videos.
Well, I would actually, Kevin, I would say, that there is this common conception that man invented the wheel, but there must have been a guy or a girl that actually figured it out. That expression of man invented the wheel? Well, man didn't invent the wheel. There was somebody that actually figured it out.
You're right.
And I think I understand your altruism by saying it's everybody, but this is actually very specific to you. And I think that people make this common error that everybody is an artist, everybody can do it, anybody can do it. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way. You have to do the work. We've talked about that, and you came up with this feeling, this idea, this concept.
I think there's something about me, I don't know, and I think about now that I'm older, and even when I was young, my dad was so radiated, and I'm so nuclear, and I had such a different mind as growing up, and I think it was because of the nuclear fallout in his genetics. I've always been so good at hypothesizing things, and we go back to Cassandra. But if you go through this log, which I thought it's staggering, my accuracy through this log, and even before that in my life, and it's impossible what I've done. I do a video, one of these videos, the egg pop thing, go get out and go down. The day silver tops go down. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of them. I mean, the whole thing is, so the whole art form is, like you said, it's like we're creating a new mythology.
Yeah, I think this is actually applying to you perfectly because it begins with the language. I think you have to talk about your language for a minute, and you start your videos off with they'll be calling
you a radical.
They'll be called, yeah.
Just spoof off the Logical Song by Supertramp, you know, and you listen to those words, and I mean, I love that pure, simple, freaking melody. I've always loved that song since I was a young guy.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, they'll be calling you a radical, to roll magical crown, you know, and you go on, the birds are singing so happily, so joyfully. You know, by the way, I got to meet him right after I got cancer, but it's, you know, to be called a radical in this day and age is really, a guy told me yesterday from Germany, called me, and he says, Kevin, people say, you know, you're crazy, your language, you're insane. He says, I find you to be the most sane person on the planet right now. The most sane. Yeah. Not insane. He says, you're the most sane person on the planet. This is a professor at the University of Hamburg, probably. And he says, you're a genius. You're brilliant the way you're using the language in this. He says, when you say it, your language has to match it. That is the art. You know, and I told him, that is the art. That is stuff. People don't realize it. And if you noticed, over the summer, I've really amped it up over the last few weeks because, you know, I'm trying to counter the nuclear machine, trying to counter ignorance, and I see it getting worse and worse, so I've got to amp mine up. I call what the language is. The language is the art.
Well, I think this is also a counter to the way people perceive video. If you're looking at TV or if you're looking at any video format, a very one-dimensional format nowadays, you've created about 20, 30 new elements in this video format. And language is part of that.
To me, I think about it and I'm like, whoa. You know, I get people all the time. By the way, people don't realize I turn down hundreds and hundreds of interviews. I'll do radio interviews and I'll do some interviews like this if I know who they are and I know a lot about the person. I turn hundreds of them down. And people want me to Skype all the time, and I'm like, even guy says, well, go if you don't know, I'll send you a webcam. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't Skype for a very good, because it would ruin the art. I hate that. I mean, I'm the opposite of Skype. It makes me sick when I see somebody Skyping in their basement or against me. I mean, it just, people don't realize how much the subconscious is sucking up everything around you, the color, every little detail of it. A lot of people can get your message through these videos. I mean, I tell people, try watching one of my videos without even me speaking.
Yeah.
And I think you will still get what I'm trying to, I shouldn't say portray, it's my statement, what this art of mine means.
Yeah.
I think you could watch a lot of my videos and turn the sound off, and you would still come out inside your gut. I would still make the exact same statement that if you listen to my words. And I really believe that to be true.
I would say the transition that happened in your work in the video format is it went from an aesthetic that was based on any kind of history to an aesthetic that I would call pure survival. I think this is what you're dealing with. Pure survival.
You know, I went to that in a commentary way, in a documentary way. You know, not commentary, documentary. You know, of course, Fukushima, you know, shooting it off the hip. But when I got cancer, you know, so acute, so extreme, so pinned up against the wall, the survival rate 3%, you know, so hardcore. But isn't that where the greatest art comes out? I mean, I think of Vincent when he was painting the inside of something. I mean, he was running it through his mind, blowing his own head off. And he was at the end. He was so acute. He was so, you know, up against the wall and everything. Those paintings he did while he was in there, I think, in my mind, they could be the greatest paintings ever painted.
Did you see that iconic film with Kirk Douglas, Vincent, and
I love
that was that gorgeous? He actually ate the paint. He wanted to become the medium, and our fellow Canadian called Marshall McLuhan coined this phrase: "The medium is the message." And I think it applies to you because you, as just a visual, an impact on a video, you are the message.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I really do think that's right. And, you know, I look back now, there's a lot of my videos that were so acutely and so sick that I've been afraid to rewatch them backwards. That's how scared I've been with this disease right on me. I know that it just comes back on everybody and just mows you down. You're dead within days. And that's what I've been up against. I haven't been able to watch them over the last 2 years, but here the last couple months, I started rewatching some of them back. I was like, wow, what art, you know, and I look back on them and I say, you know, I've been an artist my whole life. I've done 10,000 frescoes, and I'm really proud of some of the paintings I did in the 90s, you know, my nuclear aesthetic paintings and everything I thought in my life. But I look at some of these videos back and I'm like, my God, Kevin, that is the greatest art you have ever created, ever. I look back at those and I'm like, wow. I'm so happy that I did them, you know, the one with my lines hanging out of my chest, you know, well, and I used all kinds of things. I mean, I'm really proud of those. I really am.
Well, you know, Kevin, it's like I talked about this on my own videos in terms of my breakthrough and the originality. And one of the things is that we're living in a new age, and this age of technology, we tend to focus actually on the on media and virtual. The digital media, and I think I'm not actually, I mean, I do my YouTubes, but they're kind of addendums to the paintings that I do, but I think that the idea, you know what I really find extraordinary with you is that there is this concept of observer and observed. It's like you're blurring something here. And I don't really quite understand this, because in this medium we've always expected to just sort of get something out of it, but you're forcing people to actually reevaluate themselves. There is a confusion here. Who is observed and who is observing?
My art and my video is like taking a mule and leading him to the trough and then shoving his fucking head in there and making him drink it. And then when he gets done, and saving his own life. Now, I got to say this about my videos. When I was in the hospital, you know, and I was going in and out of coma, I mean, there was a lot of times I really thought I was going to die in there. I mean, I probably should have died in there. And I thought that, looking out the top of LDS Hospital 8 across this valley, you know, that's the very first place the early Mormons, my ancestors, got here. But you know how connected I am with the jetty.
Yeah, very important.
I mean, I'm a hopeless romantic if people haven't noticed yet, but I mean, I believe in the impossible. I really do. And I have always been so in love with that place out there in the middle of nowhere. I was out there when he built it, and, well, my family members built it, but in the hospital, I'm like, God, I always wanted to get the perfect video of that jetty, and it's always been underwater, you know, on Smithson's tragic death after, which is what I think he's one of my favorite artists of all time. I love him. But anyway, so when I get out, you know, and you see me out doing videos, I waited till October, this exact time of year, because, you know, I live here my whole life, and I know that the skies go this brilliant, spectacular blue, and I know the salt and the black and the yellow out there, and the color is so important out there. So I tried to time it. And I went up there on October 3rd, and I caught it. I think it's amazing. Them videos I shot, that was the most perfect video ever shot of the Spiral Jetty. The lake rises and, you know, it rises or lowers 18, 20 inches a day. It's miles away from the jetty again now. It'll probably never be there again. And that color and that spectacular videos I shot that day, I look back on them and I'm like, oh my God, they are going to be in a museum one day. They are going to. And I've had some people come to me about them, and I'm like, oh, no, you're not using those videos. No, and they're like, well, how much? And I says, well, you better have a lot of money. You can
yeah. Well, I'm going to attach that. It's called the Silent Lake Nuclear Aesthetics.
Yeah, that's my little documentary I was working on, and there's a lot of beautiful video on that documentary. I'm still working on it, by the way, because you know how I go. You know, I'm like Edward Abbey. Spend 22 years from the landscape of the library, never finish, but I'll get it done.
You know, actually, that I often feel when I watch your videos, it's a continuity. You know, one ends, doesn't really end, it gets picked up by the next one. So there is really also one leads into the other.
In my head, and I think that's funny to say that because I think of that great quote of Poe. Who's another Westerner from out here, and you know, when I was young, I wasn't in Poet. I really wasn't. It's been over the last several years, maybe the last decade, I really got into him and realized what a genius he was. And when that critic, the early critic, told me, oh my God, it's terrible, it looks like a little kid, it's horrible, it's sickening, it has no beginning and it has no end. And he said, what a compliment. He meant it. He wasn't joking. He said, my God, what a compliment. No beginning, no end. That's my vlog, my videos. There is no beginning and there is no end.
That's what I feel this because it's a continuity of some kind. It's you're basically, I think you've mentioned this yourself, you're alive because you're doing this. So if it ends, you probably have some trepidation that if it does end.
Well, a guy told me yesterday, he says, Kevin, because you can tell the frustration in my videos, but that's the way it should be. I mean, there's frustration in, you know, as I say, all I can do is keep waiting for you, which is the quote by the song written by Benjamin Orr, who died of pancreatic cancer so young. But I am frustrated, but that's the way it should be. You know, shouldn't my videos reflect frustration right now?
Well,
and
yeah, well.
And he told me, he says, well, why don't you just take off some time and do what you do? You know, do what you love to do. You know, take it easy. And I'm going to quote what my doctor said. The survival rate of what I have, acute myeloid leukemia, OS de novo, is nearly zero. And they're watching me in my hospital. Like our doctors, I have a team of doctors, 8 doctors. And they said, Kevin, you're teaching us. And he says, whatever you're doing, you keep doing until we tell you that you're out of the woods. And they haven't told me I'm out of the woods. So
the artist
you
leads.
think I'm going to quit?
Yeah.
I want to live. I do want to live.
Well, the artist leads people. The artist leads the way. It's like that Braveheart, the guy riding up and down with his horse telling people, you can do this or you can die in your bed, some fucking moron. The artist leads the way.
He's a real man.
Yeah.
And in fact, this little guy I'm sending today is got the bloodlines of William Wallace. My ex-wife and my kids had. They come right from the William Wallace bloodline. And that mountain in the background, when I do those videos, is very... One day I'll explain the importance of Ben Lomond Peak and, you know, the Federal Reserve and the Echoes and William Wallace. I'll explain it all one day, but it's very specific that I picked that. And the metaphor of that mountain, by the way, that mountain, you know, it is the Paramount logo, but it's powerful, the ducks, the pond, the willow. That is the one people haven't got the willow yet.
Uh-huh.
I picked that willow for a reason.
Okay.
As it sways so softly in the wind like that. That willow is powerful.
Yeah.
In those videos.
Okay.
The willow has always been powerful. And, you know, so many of them I do outside, as I say, post-ignorance in the most exposed manner. It's important when we're talking about the environment that we're in the environment.
Exactly. You don't talk about it from a desk or from some kind of cushy seat. You're outside. You're right in the middle of it.
Or how about these guys that do these drops with this fake Skyline that's a poster behind them? That's so fucking grotesque. I'm trying to be the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a counter, you know. Isn't that what art is, Ackermann? Really, isn't art purely the counter?
Yeah, you're right.
Purely.
Yeah. Now, I want to just sort of get back into this, the art, the pure art part. And what I would say, it just came to my head, that you're actually an art without aesthetic. You know how we've always relied on the past. We have no past anymore. We are trying to create a new world that is actually going to be able to survive this monster that we've been going on about. But
You say it best, the age of fusion. Fission.
We're in the age. Yes, we're in the age of fission, and the age of fission, like the Iron Age or the Stone Age or the Enlightenment, whatever, is an age that's unparalleled. We require artists of vision that'll be able to lead us out of this. That's what we need, and I think you're doing that.
Yeah.
I think you're doing that, and you know.
And I think it is. I don't think you could put a name on it. I don't think you could put. I think that's why you and I become frustrated. I'm very frustrated at no one accepting our art, but really, I think that's how powerful the art is. That's why no one's accepting it. You know, by the way, I'm doing this interview outside, looking right up at Mount Ogden, the spectacular weather that we have. October in Utah, where I live, you want to talk spectacular landscapes. And, I mean, wow, but it's radiated. Yeah. And so you're right. It's 311, you know, I could say Popism ended 311. 11. Everybody says, oh, Popism died a long time ago. And I says, no. It turned into neo-Popism, also Popism, and still Popism. You know, Warhol, if he wouldn't have been killed, which almost died exactly the same way, with a guy shoved too much fluid in me before they had me probably died. I think if he would have stayed alive, he would have put a stop to this madness via his art. But nobody took up where he left off and called out the absurdity of this, you know, whole culture of just being popular and sucking resources and be 15 minutes of fame any fucking way you can get it.
Well, I think, what I call the culture of death. There is a sentiment within what is considered to be the culture of the day, what you call Popism, and Popism is dead. I agree with you. I think we're in a completely different mindset now, and there are no prerequisites for this, Kevin. I don't know when in the history of, maybe when you faced a fucking dinosaur or whatever that was as a human being.
On Earth then, and
yeah, okay.
You're doing this fucking lunatic Scientologist chick, and she's like, oh, humans been on Earth for 150 million, blah, blah, blah. No, they haven't. Come on, yeah, they've been on Earth for a long time. And so people are confused. They really, and Popism is dead, but I'll tell you right now, they're still carrying the corpse around. They're laying the corpse up, and they're packing him around in their, circles, especially in those, I'll use Smith's incredible quote. I love that quote, what he said about museums. Just type in Robert Smith's quote, and that quote he said about museums. That's what we are right now. We're packing around the corpse inside those grotesque walls.
Beautiful.
We go inside the MoMA, we go inside the Met. Granted, the Metropolitan, the MoMA, their personal historical collections of all these masters and these geniuses, are so grand, but the rest of the shit, they're just propping up that corpse and holding it around, and it's dead.
Is there any?
It's so fucking dead, and it's so awful. It's awful.
Is there anybody?
The life out of anybody who looks at it.
Okay, just as out of curiosity, is there anybody that you'd pay attention to in the last 20, 30 years? Anybody?
No, and I've tried.
Yeah.
I have tried. I honestly have tried.
Yeah.
And I get so turned off, I've got a few artists that I really like, and I talk to them, and I use a very simple statement that maybe a 10th grade art teacher would say, hey, what's your statement here?
Yeah.
And they look at you. I mean, what? Isn't that like fucking art, 3rd grade?
Yeah.
What's your statement?
Yeah.
And they look at you like you just asked them, how to explain cold fission.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I want to turn about your art. I really love your art. I have that painting, your Fukushima, that I put up for that lecture in Eugene, which I can't believe that lecture didn't go viral. But I love that piece of work. I really love that piece. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, wow, this guy gets it.
I dedicated that to you, actually. I did when I painted it. I didn't know you, but in retrospect, I think I wrote it on the back. I said it was for you.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and it's a dedication that is so appropriate because you're the sort of spearhead on this art. I'm not even talking about Fukushima. I'm talking about the new art that is required to get us through this.
Well, that's what people don't give about my videos. They think it's all my commentary on Fukushima. And by the way, none of my stuff is commentary. None of it. And I think that's the difference with Picasso. None of his art was commentary.
Yeah.
It was all documentary.
Yeah.
Fact. See, here's the difference in art, and I see it. 99.99999% of artists are purely commentary, and they get the commentary wrong like 99.9999% of these talking, babbling fucking heads. But then they get that one special guy whose art is pure documentary, and he can see it. Malay, Van Gogh.
Goya.
Picasso. Goya. Oh, yeah.
Talk about fact.
Warhol.
Yeah. Talk about fact. Yeah, you're right. Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
Their art is documented. And so my videos, they're purely documentary, in this, like you said, in this art form that somebody else can come up with the word someday. It'll come to somebody someday. My post-ignorance is my social movement, but it's not my art. I don't even know what to call it, but it's documentary. I'm not saying, I think this could be that, blah, blah, blah. Now, granted, I'm early, and I hypothesize in a contender-like way, but you can't argue with the accuracy of it. You cannot. Nobody can.
Well, I think what keeps coming in my mind is like what I want to call you. It's an art without aesthetic, because you're past that stage. That aesthetic thing has been going on for 6,000 years, and I always say, where the fuck have we ended up? We're in the fucking last moment of our ability to overcome this. I mean, you know, what's art done for us? We need to discover a new way of expressing ourselves.
Art's always done so much for us, but this is I mean, we're doing like you say with Fission.
Yeah.
You know, come on, you know.
Wake up.
Like you said, there's nothing to compare this to.
Yeah,
there's
nothing.
You know, and Poet talked a lot about it. I mean, he uses that great quote. I love that quote, which I put in my book about the artist cannot use the old techniques of the, you know, Babylon.
That's what I mean.
Whatever,
That's it. That's it.
You know, in the age of atomic level. Well, that's right. That's right. And so
that's it. Yeah.
By doing these things, I'm thinking a lot about that quote. I've always thought a lot about that quote.
Yeah.
You know, we have to do things to match the times. I mean, the technology, atomic has been let loose into the atmosphere. The technology, that's, you know, the splitting of the atom, the trying to harness it, the letting it loose into the populace, into the earth. I mean, how do you match that artistically? I'm trying.
Well, I'm saying, you know, to sort of, you know, you can say anything else you want. I'm sort of coming to the end with my thoughts on this particular interview, and that is what I started with. The Sony Portapack was the first instrument that the video artists used, and you are using a Sony, a crappy little video camera that's documenting the most important videos being made at this time. I think it's very appropriate.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, now that you told me that, because I didn't realize they were using a Sony.
They're Portapack.
I love their work, and
yeah.
I do love all those guys' work a lot. And but everything that's been done in video, which so much has been done in video, the MoMA has their video, you know, thing, and every time I look at it, it's horrible. It's horrible. There's no art about it. There's no originality whatsoever. It's disgusting. You know,
there's no intensity.
I mean, where is the fucking originality? I mean, that's what this is. This is so original that people can't. There's been no originality for so long.
It'll take a while.
When something original comes along, people are just like
dazed.
It blows their fucking brains out.
Yeah, they can't absorb it. It's like they're not capable yet of absorbing it. And fortunately, I've had what I've said a breakthrough, and I can recognize it, you know, hopefully more often than not in other people. There aren't very many. We've talked about this. It's a very small group that's out there right now.
Well, I was just thinking that I'm going to do a video today for my blog on this, you know, hurricane and why nobody's reporting, you know, it being into the atmosphere. But you know what I put as far as even Fukushima, you know how many people I think really get the cover up?
Yeah, give me a number. Give me, yeah.
Not of the art, but of the actual accident that's going on.
The catastrophe.
I think there's about 300 on Earth.
On Earth, on 7 billion people, 300?
That understand the magnitude of Fukushima.
Like feel it in their gut, like it's unequivocal.
No, yeah, feel it, know it, understand it. Here's what I get coming to me all the time. I get 50, 60-year-old, well, in their later 50s, Lonnie Clark's one of them, who's a genius. They come to me and say, Kevin, I didn't know anything about Fukushima. I didn't know it was going on for years and years. And they're usually women who grew up in Southern California in that healthy environment of the 50s and 60s was so healthy in that beautiful place. They were so in sympathy with their environment on those beaches in that sun and that healthy economy. And they say, I woke up and I had this dream about this disaster, and I typed in, and there it was, and there you were. You know, I've been told that by at least 20, 30 females, and they're all the same age from the same place.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, it's pretty amazing because it's their intuitive sense. And very few people have intuitive sense anymore.
That's distressing on a certain level. Your number, your 300 number, feels almost outrageous in all the souls on this planet right now.
I can tell you, and I have very solid work to back up that number.
Interesting.
Very solid work to back up that number. Now, as far as the artists who are actually making art in this movement,
yeah.
Well, I know two. I seriously know two.
Yeah.
You and I now, what's her name? Girl in Ireland or Scotland did that piece. I love that. So maybe there's three. I love her. She's great. And then, you know, there's some, well, Lonnie, you know, she's an activist, but she's kind of an artist, Lonnie Clark, up there, and her and Jasmine. I kind of like what they do with their little cameras. Nobody watches, but I keep telling her, so what? Who cares? Nobody watches. You know, they will.
Well,
they will.
You know what? Even if they have a pulse, we'll take them in. We need everybody we can get, you know. And I agree with you. I love Lonnie. She makes fabulous. The video she did what was that, on Fukushima Beach, and the work she's doing is.
And by the way, Andrew's freaking little documentary piece on Fukushima Beach, they're great. And Jan Boyd.
Yeah.
This movie, Clown, her work. I mean,
fabulous,
that's
yeah.
a whole art of her own.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
There's some art right there. She's an incredible artist. She maybe doesn't know that she's an artist, but oh, is she?
Yeah, she's front and center on all of this, and you know, it'll be in the museums when the time comes, when we get through this, if we get through this. And I think that
I want to say one last thing before I go. I want people to understand my art, and I want everybody to know this. That these videos, when people try to put their thumbprint on these videos, everything they're about, I so think these out, and I mean, there's a couple that are shot off the hip that I have to get news out quickly, but my little art studio, my every single line, dot, line, color, piece, my language is so thought out, and they are purely pieces of art.
And people will understand this when they get their heart, when they get their pulse back into the body. This is what is required of other people. We're making the work. People have to be there to accept it. And what can we do? We can only make the work. We can't make them drink.
I always go back to, Vincent. I always go back to him. How long was it till anybody even valued his work?
Yeah.
After, I mean, a long time. You know, and I mean, I think it'll be different, but I think there's going to people come along and the posters like my blanch Schwartz, you're a free radical, Fukushima. I think it's all very, very important stuff. Very important stuff.
And eventually people will sink their teeth into this, and hopefully we'll be around, you and me, to get together and
make a difference. Isn't that what we're up to? I tell everybody, what's your art about? And I says, human rights.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that's great. That's ultimately the bottom line. It's the human right. It's got nothing to do with it. Yes.
Cancer changed me. Cancer changed.
Yeah.
Everybody says, what are you up to? I could probably get. I'll probably be given the green light to go back to work here pretty soon. I hope.
Fantastic.
So
Congratulations.
I go back into the hedge fund. I'm not going to.
Uh-huh.
I talked to my doctor. I said, all the tests and everything that I've watched through, and I've been given a second chance in life. I would have to be the biggest asshole in the world. I'm all about human. Well, I always was, but now I'm so squarely focused on human rights that in all aspects.
And I think human rights at this point is completely about survival. I think that
I'm going to say this last thing before my last statement.
Yeah.
Anybody who's watching my videos, I want people to understand. When it comes to race, sex, religion, nothing turns me off more than people that use anti-Semitic rhetoric, that use race in politics, that use anything negative to females, anything negative to children. Now, when we go up and we say people hate our children, we're not talking about the children, we're talking about the people.
Yeah.
And we're talking in a broad context. We are not talking to any individual. We are talking in the broad context of culture, because that's what art is. And I hate it. I hate it, and I hate all of it, because, if the jet stream doesn't prove it, Fukushima doesn't prove to us, we are all brothers and sisters, every single one of the jets can connect us. The jet stream of Fukushima makes us all, I don't care who you are, we are all brothers and sisters, all of us.
And we need to come together, and if the art can help do that, this is what you and I are about, and anybody else that's making the art that'll allow us to survive and get through this.
Yes.
And I think
we need to I hate to say this because people blow back on this, but even the 1%, the so-called oligarchs, even them, we even need to bring them into our tent, because even the most evil, queen-loving, multi-billionaire, game-rigging piece of shit, I don't want them to get cancer. I don't want their kids to get cancer. I don't. So this is everybody, even our enemies. Even our enemies, we have to love our enemies in a strong, forceful way.
Wow, okay. That's amazing. Yeah, it's not an art of revenge or a movement of revenge or
it's
anger.
It's an art of love. It's the poetry of anger. This art movement of mine is so full of love.
Yeah.
That's why I'm alive. And we have to stand up and fight for the people that have passed from cancer and the people that have died from cancer and the people that are going to cancer and, everybody. We have, and even our enemies, we have to love our enemies. And, it might not seem that I do that because I block people and I tell people to fuck off and everything. It's purely out of love because I don't want them to be to go down these twisted, wrong roads like the Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck. These people, take them down. I don't want them down that road because that's a fucking death spiral from hell.
I think people need to understand there's a level of tolerance in any art because the art at the time is not understood. So people need to develop that feeling of tolerance for. And I think this is what you're challenging too. Not
only that is, oh boy, do we have to defend ourselves.
Oh yes.
And I fucking defend myself.
Yes.
And I always have.
Yes. I've mentioned.
Let people attack me. Those, he who cast the first stone, beware, motherfucker.
I've said this too, that we need to defend our work because what's the point of making it if you just throw it out there like some sort of a little doodad or knick-knack? It's not that at all.
Not only that, we have to be fearless.
Yeah.
We have to lead our children and we have to lead these other people. We cannot be afraid. And I am not afraid.
Yeah. I love it.
We can't be afraid.
I love it. Kevin, I love it. And I'm glad we did this. And I think people... Yeah, I think people will have a better understanding of the art side of you. You're not information. You are making the work. You are making the art.
I don't know if you're going to let people remix this video or not, but, I don't know what you're up to as far as this, but, maybe I'll repost it on my channel.
I will put the remix, and I want to do, actually, Kevin, I want to put your Silent Lake video as a part of this thing too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of video content, pictures there, but they're great. This little guy just woke up, by the way, my little grandson.
You better.
My dad.
Oh, you're in trouble now. Okay, I hope you survive. I hope you survive.
Oh, he's a great kid. I'll survive.
Okay, Kevin.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.